Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's XY Securities webinar, Live Forex Market Review. My name is Duncan Cooper. Before we get into it, if you can read through the disclaimer, and whilst you're reading, if you're on our YouTube live stream, I cannot see your chat, but I've given you the link so you can join us in the webinar if you wish. For those in the webinar, you can just use the webinar chat box or the Q&A box to ask me questions. So just take the time to read through the disclaimer. All right, we'll move along now. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I am the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at XY Securities. And I'm a full-time Forex trader. I've been trading now for more than 15 years in the Forex market, mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email's there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. And through the week, you can connect with us at the website, acy.com, go to the Market News tab, or our YouTube channel, ACY Securities Australia. And if you want to connect with me personally through social media, just head over to my Linktree page. And as I'm going through the webinar, you'll see me using the MT4 charts. If you want to get access to my chart layouts and templates, then just contact Nathan.bray. I'll put his details in the chat now. He'll only be too happy to help you out. All right, that's in the chat. So let's just first up have a look at what news items are coming out for the day. And just before I do that, I just need to check something technically. So I might just bring up my news page. And then I just want to, in fact, I can just come over here to make sure that's working correctly. All right. So we have a number of news items coming out today. At forexfactor.com now. This is set at my time zone, Queensland time. So we've had the inflation figures of the core CPI data come out on Tuesday. Now, today at 10 p.m., we have the US PPI data. So it's core PPI month on month, core retail sales, PPI month on month, retail sales month on month, and unemployment claims. Okay, so especially with the PPI data, it's going to be highly volatile. It wasn't that volatile when the CPI data came out. It did uptick a little bit, so I guess maybe in the same vein, the PPI data may uptick a little bit, which potentially is US dollar strength. If that occurs, we'll have to wait and see. So that's the big data release for the day. Tomorrow evening, 10:30 p.m. Friday, we have the Empire State Manufacturing Index coming out. And then into Saturday morning on midnight, prelim Euro and consumer sentiment. So a few more items coming out, but primarily you want to be focused on these items. Do you want to be taking a trade right now in the face of maybe the PPI data release? Probably not, but it's worth understanding the position of the market, the levels that maybe the market could move to after that event, and then what do you want to do after the event's been released. Okay, so that's what we'll look at tonight. So bringing my charts up, just on the dollar index here, I just want to go to the weekly chart first. I was discussing this on Tuesday. Nothing much has really changed. We're trading within the range of last week, but we have been selling off from a higher top. Are we going to be putting in a higher bottom? We've actually got good support down here at the 62% retracement. And, you know, as long as the trend's going to hold long term, because the trend is up, moving down from a higher top, then we could see support, yes, coming at 62 for this to further continue the trend in this year at the moment. All right, so unless we get a trend change in that weekly chart, should maybe have the forethought that maybe we are going to put in a higher bottom, and we have really the inverse relationship looking at the euro dollar. So at the moment on the day chart, we are seeing a little bit of sideways price action here. We do have a lower bottom, lower top, but the day chart's been down as we're pulling back against the weekly range. So if we do have a day up today, we'll start to put in a minor higher bottom here. So we'll have to wait and see. You know, if we do trade above yesterday's high, then pairs to the US dollar potentially will be looking like they want to move down. So we'll have to wait and see what the news brings later on. Okay. Now the S&P 500, let's go to the day chart here. It's moving from strength to strength. From a weekly chart perspective here, we're above the previous all-time high. We've recently had a pullback to the 62.79% zone on the day chart, and we're coming up to test the all-time high. So is this really where you want to be buying? I think you want to really look for the next, let the current upward move finish. And if we've come up, we've pulled back to the 62.79% area. This may well come up to the 127 extension. And then look for the next decline, and then do we hold for the next upward move. So we're getting in very much into the profit-taking phase of the fib tool there. So if you want to trade S&P 500, you probably want to wait for the next pullback. And then that is if you're quite prepared to buy at such high levels. Okay. All right. Let's get into the euro dollar now. Let's go to the day chart, this range here. Well, we'll go to the weekly chart for those who haven't been following me. We are moving up from a lower bottom, so it's the inverse look of the dollar index, and we're at 62% level. So are we actually going to put a lower top in here to continue the movement then down? We could come up to a couple of weekly highs here. That's round about the 110 area, 110.17 area. That's depending on when the news can drive us up there. Now, to the day chart. Quite clearly had a very strong rejection last week at the 62% retracement, that weekly range. So whilst this day trend is up, this could be a final top here. All week at the moment, we're not able to come up and actually trade at that level or above. And what I'm noticing on the 4-hour chart is we've had a 72% retracement. We've moved down, 72% retracement, and we started to sell off. So we could be failing there. Now, just want to put in where daily resistance is at the moment. It's up here at 109.81. So we could certainly test that later on in the day when the news comes out with that 62% area. All right. And whilst we are putting in a higher bottom here, depending on the volatility, because this hasn't been moving much over the last few trading days, support's down here at 108.88. So we're kind of in the middle of those two areas almost. So when the news comes out, volatility, do we get driven up to resistance or back down to support? Those are the outskirts where I would look to maybe trade down from where I'm from, depending on what kind of release we get and how the market reacts, okay? And at the moment, we are failing with the sell-off from last week's high at the 62% level. We've moved down and we're at the 62% level there. So really up here at the top from 109.63 to 109.80 is the sell zone. And the buy zone is last month's high, which is over here. That's at 108.97 down to today's support. So if price gets in the outskirts of those areas today after the news, then can you see your setup to trade up or down? Okay, that's what I was looking for. All right, to the euro yen. Now this is in the zone. Let's go to my 4-hour chart. This is how I had it drawn up on Tuesday. We filled the imbalance to the left from last week's drop. And we're rather sideways here, but we're holding at 79% level, fractionally above up to what is, this is a weekly top. Go to the weekly chart. It's this top just here. So we're being held there at the moment. Is it where we're going to hold for the decline? So you could actually be trading right now, stop above the high up here, or you could be waiting for the news to come out and finish. And then do we start to see a breakdown? Do we start to see a move down over the next 24 hours? Do we see a rally? Are we going to start to be moving down this way? All right. Of course, we could break above the weekly resistance, but at the moment we're holding there. So And we had a very strong sell-off last week. So my bias is to the downside unless the structure changes. If we trade a break above here, then we could be going, back up to the tops up here. But at the moment, weekly resistance is holding the market. And you can see that on the 15-minute chart. Go to the 15-minute chart. There's the level. Every time we come up on the 15-minute chart, it holds. So even now, ahead of the news, if this comes up to 161.86 is the number. We've been holding there now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So that's where the sellers are quite clearly holding the market, but it's rather range bound as we're waiting for the news item to come out. Okay. So long term at the moment, as long as we hold where we're holding, we could be, we've moved down. This could just be corrected within that range to move like so. So do we start to see a structure change to the downside? All right. Now the euro pound, look at the day chart. It's rather range bound. Just been up to this range, up to the 79% level. We have a weekly area of support and resistance here, and an area of daily support here, and a further area of weekly support down at the bottom. So we're a little bit range bound in this area. If it's holding its structure to the downside, so we've moved to a lower bottom, we're running back up, then we are starting to drift below weekly support here. Just move it down to a 4-hour chart. We may well pop back above 84.43, but there's been a minor area of support here. What we could be seeing here at the moment is that we're moving down from the 79, and then we may then see some form of rally back up. So can we then rally back up? There's a possibility of a head and shoulder pattern forming here. If we've dropped down, can we rally back up? So I'll be looking for that kind of affair. Failing at the 79% level, do we then drop, rally back up to the smaller 79% level to form maybe some form of head and shoulder pattern here on the 4-hour? That's what I'll be looking for in terms of how price action could develop there on the euro pound. All right, let's head over to the pound now. Let's just go to the weekly chart. The thing I was talking about Tuesday was, yes, we've moved above this high to the left, so theoretically we could be back into a weekly uptrend. We're still within this range from high to low, and we've got a pip or two short of the 79% retracement. So we could be dealing with a false break of this high. It's at 128.27. We're at 128.11 at the moment trading. And all week, Monday we traded back below. So Friday we closed above this weekly high. Last on the day chart, this is a weekly high, and a further weekly high over here. So are we dealing with a complete false break? Is this just the market getting manipulated up? Retail traders are getting long over this high, or they're closing out shorts, and that's creating a liquidity trap for them. Those orders go off, and the large institutions may be collecting those orders because Monday we traded back below, and we haven't been back up to 128.27, that high since. So that is definitely an area to watch at the moment. So if we move to the upside today, watch 128.70, that could be clear resistance. If we move to the downside, we have support from all these highs to the left. So that's 127.85 down to 127.71. We got support in there yesterday. Chart. So you see it's getting support down there yesterday. We put in the bottom there today, fractionally above. So we could well be heading back up to 128.70, or at least we're coming up within this range here. All right, at the moment, that's the most immediate range that the market's operating within, just a fraction above the 79% level. Okay, so I'd be very, keen to see what happens up here if we can spike up to 128.27 today. We've been kind of negative all week in terms of not being able to follow through from last week. So if we do come up to the high that we've been false breaking, if we're false breaking that high because the sellers above that high or at that high wanting to hold the market there and below. So I would watch that level for sure today. And support's coming in primarily down here at 127.71, which is last month's high. All right. So when we had the CPI data come out on Tuesday, we did actually come up and then drop. And we were holding at this high. That's the CPI high there. It's about 128.07. We're just a fraction above it at the moment, but how long we can hold above the CPI high, we'll have to wait and see. But that'll be a good reference point as well. Yesterday, we were trying to move above it and we couldn't. This is looking a little bit like at the moment that we've just tried to trade above these highs and we're false breaking, and maybe we've moved down, coming back up to now come back in the range. But I've given you the levels I'm going to watch after CPI data, but we're maybe false breaking yesterday's high at the moment to move back into the range. And we're almost back on to that high there to the left from the CPI spike up. All right, so those are my levels. Really, if we are dealing with a false break on the pound above this high, we could see a significant reversal down from that point. So if we do come back up and retest that then hold, could be a very good level to get short for a long-term decline if we are false breaking that high. All right, so we'll have to wait and see. Pound yen, it's coming back up the range. Just want to go to my day chart. It's getting support from this high over here. This is a weekly high. Go to the weekly chart. This is an uptrend. It's two weekly highs here that we've been trying to trade below, and we're coming back up at the moment. And to the day chart, we are putting a lower top to bottom. So whilst we're not able to hold below these highs 1 and 2, this is in a downtrend on the day chart, and we could be seeing this 189.70 from my monthly chart. It's an old significant higher point that we false broke, but we've moved down. We could be coming up just maybe to the monthly level, or wanting to come up to the 62.79% area maybe to then continue its decline down. The larger range here at the moment is more accurate, is there. So we may well see a movement back down this range here at the moment, assuming that this day chart downtrend started to form is going to hold its position. So it's worth just putting a fib in at the moment. Cross that range, and then monitoring the 62% level. There's a bit of an imbalance in this area here that could get filled. So looking for this maybe to come up in between the 62.79% area, and then what does price do? Does it start to turn over? Can you see a setup to sell? Okay. At 189.70 level, if you do go back in time, it's this level over here on the monthly chart. So we may not get above that level now that we false broke it, but depending on how volatile the market is, we could just come up to this 4-hour top. See, when we broke back below, the monthly level of resistance was resistance on the 4-hour chart. So we have to come back above this level, obviously, to get to the 62.79% zone. So if we do hold at 189.70, then we could see a reversal down from there. So primarily, I'd like a higher rally into this area, but watch 189.70. If we fail there, then quite clearly The sellers are coming in at the monthly high that we false broke. All right, over to the Aussie yen. This is how I set it up on Tuesday on my 4-hour. Last week's high down to the current low of the week. 79% level, 97.92. Trade there on 2 candles. And then 97.87, which if you move to your weekly charts is a weekly high just here that we've moved below and we're holding at. So are we going to be able to move further down the range at the moment? All right, downtrend on the day chart. So coming up, we're going to hold there today. So from a 79% pattern, you could be selling here right now, put your stop above last week's high, or you could be waiting for 4-hour structure to break to the downside, then look for the rally, and then look to sell the rally. All right, assuming we start to break down to the downside. Okay. All right, Aussie dollar. So on Tuesday, I said watch the level 66.21. Just tidy this up a bit. So 66.21 is this area here. You could be actually looking at the high level at 66.24, but I'm just using that one because we false broke here before. And as well, the area that the market's respecting is this low, previous support, 66.40. All right, now the high time frames, this is the data. The high time frames are down monthly, weekly. The daily's up. So this could just be a corrective measure back up within the range from high to low. Hold at the 62% level of this range, of the bigger range from high to low last week. And this week, you know, this area of resistance, so there's a resistance area there. Every time we get into that area, we're putting wicks on the candles. There's no close into that area. All right, even when we traded well above, we couldn't close in that area. So quite clearly, that's where the sellers are. Quite happily gobbling up any buy orders at the moment. All right, so let's just move it down the 4-hour chart. I'm thinking this could be failing here to move back down to the weekly support area at 65.22 to 65.11. So at the moment, there's a couple of ranges depending on what the market wants to do tonight. There's a larger range there that from the sell side, we could, you know, we're holding at the 62% level there. And then there's this smaller range that we're also trading in. All right, okay, you know, always getting up to the top of there. But at the moment, the 79% level of that range is capping. So I will just be watching to see what happens in this zone today. Do we spike up and start to sell off? When we had the, it's going to move to the 15-minute chart. My dog can be quiet. This was the CPI data. We spiked above 66.21. We're trading at 66.19 at the moment. Spiked above, and then we came all the way back down below. So I'd just be watching for the same kind of price action day. If we spike up, if we can't hold 66.21, are we going to then move back down? You can see we're holding right there at the moment. So that's really the area that I'll be watching today. All right. Just excuse me one moment. All right, sorry about that. I had to at the front door. All right, so 6621 on the Aussie at the moment is clearly the failure point. Now, if you thought the data was going to bring US dollar strength, you could be selling right now, but I'm just going to wait till the data comes out and then see what presents, okay? Now, let's get into now the New Zealand yen. And this is how my 4-hour chart was looking on Tuesday. I said, watch this range, because at the time, this was the primary 4-hour range. Yes, within that range at the moment, there's been an uptrend forming. But you can see the area that I highlighted because I was looking at this in a little bit of an imbalance in here, and that's really where the market's getting capped at the moment. Might well continue a little bit higher up at the moment. So I prefer now to put my fib across the range of last week. Like so, let's go to the daily chart. That's the predominant daily range. We have a high here, then we traded down, and now we're correcting back up. So in a perfect world at the moment, hopefully you can see this is a weekly high over here. 79% level overlaps perfectly with that level. So I'll just at the moment be waiting to see if this can pop up a little bit higher. And that would be a great area to watch for the market to fail at and turn back down. All right, now, might not get up at that high. So after the news, yes, if it got up to here, great. But we may sink back below 90.98. 90.98, the day chart is this weekly high over here. If we were to instantly start to move below there, then I would start to look for price to change the 4-hour trend back to down and that area to become resistance to move this way. Okay, so a bit on the fence at the moment as to whether that's going to move a little bit higher at the moment. Showing an uptrend at the moment on the 4-hour chart, so it could get up to that 91.51 level, okay? All right, New Zealand dollar. Today chart. So the question I put out on Tuesday was, is this a double top up here? All right, now the higher time frames are down. Just want to prove that. The monthly chart, we have lower top, lower bottom, lower top. And the weekly, well, the weekly could be actually a little bit mixed. We have a higher bottom and this high up here is a lower top. So a bit mixed on the weekly, but the monthly trend is down. This is kind of range bound on the weekly. So have we been failing at the top of the range on the weekly? Are we going to move back down to support? All right. So that being said, most immediate range here that has a bit in situ. This could be a double top. And we may only move back down to support, or if we can break support, the 200% target for the double top's down at 59.19. But at the moment, it's rather range bound here. So 4-hour. And what I've been seeing in most recent price action is the range has been forming since the last news on Tuesday. We've been holding at the 79% level. So really at the moment, the resistance area, if we are trading, if we failed here to trade back down this way, the resistance area is here at the moment. This is where the sellers are holding the market. So that's where I would look to see if price can pop back into this area today. It could come up to the 79% level as well. Over here, 61.85. That's 61.83. So this whole area here, watch that area. Do we come up to the top part of that area and fail? And are we moving back down to the bottom of the range after having failed at the top of the range last week? Okay. All right, excuse me a moment. All right, now let's move on to the dollar Canadian. All right, lots of colors on here. My Forex chart I had it on Tuesday. Now, not a lot has changed. We did actually pop a little bit higher, so let me just redraw my fib up to there. But it really doesn't change my impression of where I think you should need to be looking, which is down at this 79% level, if we can move down. All right. We've got good support down here. There's an imbalance here that needs to be filled. And whilst this is a little bit messy, I'm thinking that potentially we've put in a significant low here, moved up. Then, we're going to come down to 79% level and then move this way. So I'll just be patient, to come up this way to fill this imbalance up here that's been formed last week or the week before, whenever it got formed. All right, so if you like the dollar Canadian, I would be looking down at the 134.42 area. Can we come down into that area for support? All right, dollar franc. From a daily chart, now at the moment, my philosophy hasn't really changed. Hasn't been doing much, but we've failed at 62% retracement of the monthly range, and then we've dropped down. We're going to come up maybe to the 79% level, to 62, 79% area. It'd be great if we came to 79% level to then continue down. Now, what I have also noticed, let's just get rid of this fib, is we could simply just want to be holding in a range at the moment. There's a range here. I'm going to leave the fib where it is, but we've false broke that low there. And we have the top of the range here. So we could simply be trading back up to the top of the range and then to trade back down. So it'll be interesting to see, if it wants to stay in a complete range, or is it just going to come up to the 79% level, offer the opportunity to trade. So, looking up here from the 79% level up to the highs, does this hold to move back down? Okay. Long term, the monthly trend is down. This has all been corrected on the monthly chart. Are we now topping out here to move long term down this way? We'll have to wait and see. All right, dollar yen. So it's just popping back above at the moment. We had a very large week down last week. It's a little bit messy here. We've got lower tops and higher bottoms, a little bit of a triangular pattern here on my 4-hour chart forming. So, but this week we've been just correcting up within the range of last week. So this is a range of last week, high to low. A little bit messy here at the moment. The day chart. Just false breaking this low here at the moment. Now, a major level of resistance is this high over here. And if we do get some upward pressure on the dollar yen, we could well be moving back up to 148.80. But primarily the trend is down. So you're looking for a conclusion of this corrective rally at the moment, and then can you start to see it turn over to move down? So at the moment, with this being such a long sell-off, often, the last kind of high in the day chart is here. We will often come up back up to the 62, 79% area. We're a long way away from there at the moment. The weekly chart, that's the area I was talking about as being resistance, 148.80, that high there, and there's a low to the left. So probably can't get up so high. We'll have to wait and see what used items bring. Back to the 4-hour chart, I've just been monitoring last week's range. So that's last week's high to low. And depending on what the news brings today, yes, we could get a major run up to 148.80, but at the moment, I'm just on the fence. If we get a good close back below 147.62 today, then intraday, the next day, you could look at 146.62 to be resistance to continue the trading down. But with this being such a short rally at the moment, I'm always concerned when we get a short rally. I'd be a lot happier if it got up a little bit higher, maybe back up to 148.80 before looking for the next short. So I'm just on the fence at the moment, needing some more price action before I start to commit to maybe getting short. Because as I was saying, we are a little bit lower highs starting to form and higher bottoms. So it is a little bit uncertain just in the most immediate. All right. Let's get into gold. Now, of course, very topical at the moment. We've had a massive break north up to the high on this chart. I know on my other charts where I got a different price feed, the high is lower, but this is a live chart feed, and the market is definitely respecting the last spike up where we false broke these monthly highs, spiked up, and then sold back down. We've obviously rushed up to retest that level at the moment. Trend is up on the weekly and the monthly at the moment. We're testing that high, and the day chart is up. And I mean, that could be a double top if it wants to be. And just from a day chart perspective, if you're trading a double top, it's a break of a candlestick low, start to confirm the reversal, which is there, and that's been broken, and we're back up to that level almost. So the question is, are we now coming back down to support? It's very high. Logically, as a trader, would you want to be buying in this area at the moment? So high. It's at the premium price that gold's ever been at. Do you want to be a buyer at the premium price? I wouldn't want to, but maybe you know something better than I do. All right, so in terms of the 4-hour trend at the moment, 4-hour trend has turned it down. We've come up to 79% level and started to fail. We may revisit that in the day. So you could watch that level for sure today. It's at 21.78. Are we going to have a movement back down the range after that very large run up? We've run up at the moment, but do we retest the 79% level today to hold to come back down the range? Okay. Difficult to be a buyer because we're so high. Because there's not that much room if you're buying now to, test 21.90 is my high to the left. We're at 21.70. So there's not a great amount of room. There's lots of room down to the short side if we're profit taking now to move back down. There's an imbalance here. There's an imbalance here. So there's a number of imbalances on the 4-hour chart there that may need to be filled for retracement. And you never know, this big move up started here. I mean, of course, we could hold the long-term trends, but we may want to, maybe come back down to the 62% level, retest these highs that we've broken above from the monthly chart. So you need to understand we're at premium prices here for gold at the moment. Yes, it can move higher, but at the moment, 4-hour trend has turned to down there. So is that going to dominate the trend or the price action at least for the rest of the week? Or any questions, just let me know. Maybe wrap up around about 7:45. We'll just see what's going on the euro dollar at the moment. Let me just get rid of those lines. All right. What's the euro yen? The euro yen still holding in that area. Pound dollar. Pound dollar still finding a bit of a bid. Now it is worth watching. You've got this range at the moment, but with the pound dollar closing above the weekly high last week, and the day trend is up, it's just putting in a higher bottom here. But of course, the contentious area is this weekly high here and this weekly high over here. So we are in an uptrend here, forming another higher bottom. Depending on what the market does today, if you just on the 4-hour chart here, we are breaking into an uptrend here. And we have put in a higher bottom just above day support. Is when the news comes out today, with the day trend being quite clearly up, whilst I would love to watch a failure at 128.27, we may just see a dip within this range that's forming at the moment. So to the 15-minute chart. So this range here that's forming, this is a 4-hour swing point low here. This is the current move up. Is this range may hold when the news comes out. Price may be up here by the time the news comes out. But draw a fib across the range of the day, because let's just assume the range holds like so for the moment, is we may well just come down, to the 62.79% area here. Hold the 4-hour trend in line with the day chart trend to then continue up. All right. So the market quite clearly will go, have a whipsawing event up or down when the news comes out. But logically at the moment, the day trend is up. It's just not holding above the weekly highs to the left at the moment, but it may want to hold above there by the end of today. So the day trend is clearly up. So if it does swoon down, it did swoon down. Well, on the CPI data, it actually went down, swung back up, and then went down, but the intraday trend was down at the time. But we've recovered that. So the trend intraday at the moment is up. So we may well just see this kind of affair. So have the range mapped out as the PPI data comes out, and then see how it lands. All right, I'm going to wrap things up there if no more questions coming in. Just to give you a heads up, next week for me on the webinars, we have more analysis next Tuesday. So that will be the 19th. Then on Wednesday, the education webinar will be how to use pivot points, and then more analysis next Thursday on the 21st. Okay, so if you want to join me, just head over to the webinar page. The address is up here to register your interest, and I look forward to seeing you then. So before we leave, you just make sure you know what the news is coming out if you've been coming in late. My time, Queensland time, 10:30 p.m. tonight, we have the US PPI data release. So that is inflation figures. We've already had the CPI data, now we've got the PPI data. Now, CPI figures were slightly up, so maybe these are going to be slightly up, and if they're slightly up or even more than slightly up, that's going to be US dollar strength, potentially, okay? So just be aware what's coming out. That's going to be volatile at that time, so I'll leave you with that thought. All right, everybody, I'll leave you with that. Have a great trading day and the rest of the week, and have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, everybody.